I'm Beverly, and I'm on the witness stand. I know I don't normally come on Monday night, but I had to because I had to discuss what happened in the Karen Reed trial today. Ugh, it was a doozy. So first, when the morning starts and before the jury comes in, the two different sides will discuss different things that are happening. Like they want one thing to come in, they want something else not to, they argue their different sides, and then the judge makes a ruling. Well, that wasn't even important today. What was important was the judge made the comment that she and the court were getting tired of all the sidebars and the discussions, and we had wasted a lot of time with the jury, and that she didn't want to do that anymore. And she said the jury was tired of it. You could see it on their faces. That set the tone for the day. So then Dr. Wolf, who works for ARCA, who is the accident reconstructionist, was back on the stand, and honest to God, I wanted to bang my head because it was all about math. What it boiled down to, so many calculations, but what I got out of it was the fact, I did not know this. There's a calculation for this, and a law, apparently, like a Boyle's law or Newton's law or whatever, but there's a calculation that tells you that the size of your arm from shoulder to the tip of your fingers weighs the same thing as your head. Who knew? I didn't know. But anyway, apparently after many calculations on the calculator, and at one point I think Dr. Wolf did some of it on a piece of paper. Remember that in school? Oh my God, I would need a calculator. Anyway, so all that to say they had messed up, or Dr. Wolf had messed up, according to the prosecution, on his mathematical results of the car hitting John and what kind of damage could be done based on the weight of the car and the speed of the car. All of that was, it was above me, but it happened, and I got the gist of it. Well, then the prosecution showed Dr. Wolf photographs, on paper, photographs of John's hoodie that he was wearing that night. There were holes in the back of it. And Dr. Wolf was asked by Dear Hank, the prosecutor, what made these specific holes. And Dr. Wolf said, I don't know if he used the word road rash, road burn, something to that effect, that it had happened sliding across the road. Well, when I saw it, the pictures, just the pictures, when I saw that, I thought to myself, looks kind of neat to be something that got dragged across the road. You would think there'd be some fibers messed up, but you know how you think something, but you think, well, they didn't talk about that, so, wasn't important. I sure thought so, but needless to say, went on, didn't go back to it. But after break, they had another voir dire. I looked that up, and everything that I could find was that it was jury selection. So I called someone who knows or is in the know on things like that, and it could mean also just out of the jury's presence. I don't know if I've discussed that before, but something learned again. Head, arm, voir dire. So anyway, they had this, like, at the beginning of lunch. They sent the jury to lunch, and then they got up. Well, oh my God, Leslie, Leslie. I think it was Alessi. I think that's the defense attorney's name. Put black gloves on, like latex gloves, went to their little podium and exploded. His voice was raised. He declared, he said, there should be a mistrial with prejudice, which means they can't charge her again. It's like done and over. If it's without prejudice, they can bring it back. But he asked for a mistrial with prejudice because the prosecution willfully got up and brought in evidence that was wrong. And he said Hank knew it was wrong and did it on purpose. And that the jury, can't talk today, the jury could not unsee it. And so he said there should be a mistrial. Oh, he was heated. Heated. Well, I didn't know what he was talking about, but then he said it. And what was with the gloves? He asked if he could pull out evidence bag that had John's hoodie in it, which the judge let him. He picked it up, he held it up in front of the judge, and he said these holes in the back of this hoodie was made by the forensic technician when she snipped it out to test the little stains on it. You knew as soon as it happened. He was right. And then my thoughts go to, oh, this is probably grounds for a mistrial. Eek. I didn't know what Hank was going to do. I didn't know what the judge was going to do. But I knew it was a big moment. And I really thought they might get a mistrial. And then would the prosecution go after her again? Because again, it's not like it's hinging on me. But I still think there's reasonable doubt. I don't believe the dog bite. I don't believe any of that stuff. I don't really know what I believe yet. So I definitely would make a good juror because I haven't formed a conclusion and I am waiting for evidence. So he continued to argue his case, which I thought was a very good case. And then the judge told Hank, I'm paraphrasing, do you want to make any comments or something like that? So Hank walked to his podium, and I swear by all my chicken gravy that he looked at Alessi as he walked by, but he dang sure looked at the defense table. Glance, not a full-blown look. And I couldn't see his face. I just saw him turn and then quickly turn back. I wonder what was on the other side of that quick look. Then he goes back, and you can tell he is choked up, not crying, but like, gulp, don't know how I'm gonna get out of this, like all dry mouth and stuff. And he started talking, and then he stopped, like he was flustered, as well he should be. And he said that he had made a mistake. He understood he had made a mistake, but that he did not believe that it should be a mistrial. What he said was kind of an offering. What he said was the jury should be instructed to disregard the evidence and not consider any of it, just forget it, and not consider any of it when deliberating. It was short and sweet, but that was the gist of it. Judge, immediately. I mean, I don't think Hank got back to his table before she said, I'm not granting a mistrial. I think that it was probably because, remember I told you that morning that she had made those comments, and I believe she was already angry, and she was tired of all the shiitake that has been going on. And maybe she thought it was an honest mistake. I'm just gonna be truthful in saying I really don't believe that dear Hank thought about it as far as being malicious or trying to get it in. I just think he messed up. But boy, was it a mess up. And I can just imagine when the day is over and he has to go back to the office and he's going to have to eat it. But needless to say, it was a moment. And then they got to where Judge Bev tried to come up with the wording. And she was getting aggravated because she was working with Alessi on the wording of what she was going to say to the jurors. But he wanted one thing, she said she'd do the other, and he kept trying to add stuff to it, and she cut him off and said, I'm not saying that. I'm going to say this. Well, apparently they didn't show it, but apparently he turned his back to her. And she said something to the effect, I probably should write down specifically what they said, but I'm so into it at the moment. But she said, you can choose not to listen to me, but this is what I've said I'm going to say, and this is what I'm going to say. Well, he apparently apologized. He wasn't at the microphone, so you couldn't really hear it, but I heard later that he apologized and said he had turned to one of the other attorneys. I can't remember his name. There's so many attorneys there. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. I can't remember. Anyway, he apologized. He said he did not mean to turn his back to her. Well, she was mad. So when the jury came in, she said that the holes in the back of the jacket were made by the forensic technician and was not to be used in their judgment. They could not use it in their deliberations. End of it. She didn't go into any more discussions about it. She did not elaborate. She just basically said, call your next witness. And then it went on. And they tried to get an expert witness in, an emergency room technician, I think it was, who, I think she was published. She had already offered an opinion to the defense. You know they're going to do that. Their expert witnesses are going to say what they think. But she had offered her findings, and the judge said that she couldn't say any of that. Now, this is out of the jury's presence. Voir dire. But she had said that she had come to a conclusion, but in this short voir dire, she was not allowed to say what her opinion was because it was basically testifying. And it was really coming down to, was she an expert in the dog bite situation? they're still going after that. But I can understand alternate defense possibility. But needless to say, the judge made a decision that she could come in. And you remember Dr. Russell, the one that testified for 3 days. I told you that she was very qualified, but after 3 days, we'd had it. So anyway, and God, so many sidebars. I think they're going up there and just eating snacks. I don't know what they're doing up there, because I can't imagine how many times they need to talk like that out of, out of any of our hearing. But she wrote all of these stipulations as to what Dr. I don't remember, because I don't think she's testified yet. And then she said what she could say, what she could not say. And again, you could tell that she was miffed. So that was the big thing that happened in the Karen Reed. And I'll update you some more. But I will definitely jump in if there's anything really spectacular to talk about. Let me brief you quickly on the Sean Combs. There wasn't much to talk about today, and I'm not trying to be flippant about that, but Jane Doe was on there again, and she testified a lot about the hotel nights, which is the same as the freak-offs. But she testified very graphic, and cried a lot. I mean, they said she got really, really upset, and the prosecution asked her if she wanted to take a break, and she said no. She said, I'm gonna keep going. I think she just wants to get it out. But again, the testimony mirrored so much of Cassie, maybe without the violence as far as the beatings, but everything else, just everything else. And it was so horrific. I'm proud of them for doing it, but it really did mirror that. And they said, by all reports, that the jury was quite engaged, and you could tell that they were sympathizing with her as well as they did with Cassie. So that's pretty much the ongoings of the Sean Combs. I don't think really new testimony. It was much of the same, more in depth, but again, I know you can't watch it like I can watch it, but I'll watch it for you. So until our next video, you may step off the witness stand. I'm Beverly, and I'm on the witness stand.